Car crash cases, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, the attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts. The attorneys with Josh Wright from the law firm of Hollis Wright and host David Lamb.
Hello and welcome into the attorneys. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday evening. Our topic of conversation tonight is family law, and we've done shows on this topic before, but this is always one that just gets so much reaction from you. So if you or someone you know is dealing with an issue and could use some advice, some good advice from a family law expert, tonight is the night to just give them a call and let them know that this is a show they want to be watching. We have the panel of experts. We have an expert on family law here with us as well. Would love to have you join our conversation all throughout the program. There will be ways you can call, text, email, get in touch with us. And a reminder that an attorney from the firm of Hollis Wright is standing by live right now to speak with you. Josh Wright, managing partner of the firm, is here with us and is leading the conversation. Always neat that those attorneys are standing by right now to talk.
Well, that's right. You know, and our goal, David, is to provide free legal advice to people who need it. It may never amount to a case that we handle as a law firm, but if they have a legal-related issue, we like to bring guests on the show that have an expertise in areas that we don't cover, and we like to have a network of lawyers we can send cases to so that we can lead, guide, and direct people to questions they may have and to lawyers that can assist them in their everyday life. You know, and it's amazing the number of shows that we do, the number of topics that are totally unrelated to family law and divorce and grandparent rights. We get so many questions associated with divorce, family law, adoption, child support, grandparent rights. You wouldn't believe it. And so, not that we think we're experts in it, we bring experts on the show to be able to talk about that, and that's one of the things we're doing today. And we're going to talk about all those things, from grandparent rights to divorce to common law marriage. Ross Kinder of the Kinder Law Firm is on with us. First time he's been on, and we're super excited, first of all, to have you on the show to answer these type questions.
Thanks for having me, Josh, David. I appreciate it.
So I know we get a lot of these questions. This is kind of an emotionally charged area of the law where people get their emotions going a lot because a lot of times there's a dispute related to children, a dispute related to grandparent rights or divorce, child custody, etc. So I know you deal with that. How do you temper that? How do you calm folks down to help them recognize that everybody has rights kind of moving forward?
It's definitely a difficult situation. It's as you said, it's one of the most emotionally charged areas of the law because you're dealing with something that is deeply important to you, your children, your family. And there's not an easy answer with that. It's just talking through each situation with the client and making sure that they understand fully kind of what's going on throughout the case, keeping them informed and having a lot of interaction with the client about what is actually going on.
So talk to me a little bit about this area of the law, because not every lawyer does this. This is kind of a specialty. How did you get into this area of the law?
I got into it I knew just a few lawyers when I came out of law school, and they were involved in family law. So I learned from them and got cases from them and kind of got into it. Just another part of it was there's a lot of family law issues around. Everyone deals in some way with it, if it's with custody, with its support, divorce. There's just so many areas of family law that touch so many people in the community.
You know, a lot of people, David, don't recognize until they watch these shows or unless they're in a family law issue, dispute, whatever you want to call it, that Jefferson County, we're lucky, we have our own family law courts. And we got some, I think, really good judges that do a great job, that are compassionate but also firm to work through the mechanics of what legal rights people have in family-related issues, everything from adoption to child custody to divorce to common law marriages, etc. And so we have a separate court that handles that deflects some of those issues from the circuit court judges and district court judges and allows the family judges to be able to handle it. And I think the bench is a pretty good bench here, don't you? You agree?
We have some great judges here. They're versed in the law, and they understand all the issues associated with a case that comes in their court.
We have, like you've said, this is a question, a topic. It elicits a lot of conversation. You want to jump right into some questions?
Let's do it.
We've got some, quite a few here. This is a question that we've got. If I want a divorce and my spouse does not, can they stop me from obtaining one?
So the answer to that question is no. If you want a divorce, you have a right to get a divorce. Your spouse cannot stop you from obtaining one. They may be able to slow the process down, but in the end, you are entitled to a divorce in the state of Alabama.
And you talk about the process. I've heard of these horror stories in divorces where sometimes they will last years and years. And there's just, what started out as we have no disputes, all of a sudden there are lots of disputes, and there are children involved, and there are financial issues and interests involved. These cases can take a while, can they not?
Yeah, you're right, Josh. There are many things that can slow a case down if you have an attorney on the other side who is also well versed in family law. I believe it's just like civil practice. You can get caught up in the discovery, in the checking financial records, into delving into every little aspect of your spouse's life, especially with the prevalence of social media and everyone being connected. Everything that you do can be scrutinized in a divorce, especially when involving children. They're going to be looking for dirt, unfortunately.
I know we're about to go to break. When we come back, I want to talk about two things. One, I want to talk about fault versus no fault divorces. And then I also want to talk about kind of the logistics and the mechanics of how these cases work. I don't think people realize that a divorce case can actually go to trial. It's not as simple as just waiting for a judge to sign off on something. You can actually try these cases no different than a civil case, where you take discovery and you move forward and rock forward, and then you end up in a trial to have a judge reach a conclusion one way or the other. I want to talk about those two things when we come back.
All right, right there. We're going to step aside our first break of the evening. As we do so, how you can join our conversation. Also, follow the firm of Hollis Wright. You're going to want to like the page there on Facebook. Just search for Hollis Wright. You'll find it there. On Twitter, it's Hollis_Wright. Stay tuned. We are coming right back.
I'm Josh Wright with the law firm of Hollis Wright, a personal injury law firm. Thank you for watching The Attorneys. Now, we hope you, a friend, or a loved one never needs legal counsel for a case. But if you do, the goal of the show is simple. Provide answers and legal counsel when you need it the most. Your call to the show is free, so if you have questions specific to the show or related to other accident or injury-related topics, you can call, email, or text us. Or you can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or simply contact us by going to hollis-wright.com and click on the Contact Us link. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us watching The Attorneys.
Common law marriage and all matters of family law covered tonight. Welcome back into The Attorneys. Hey, a reminder before we jump right back into the conversation, attorneys from Hollis Wright standing by live right now to speak with you. So if you need some great free legal advice, the opportunity tonight to get it. Josh?
All right, so when we went to break, I was mentioning that people sometimes don't recognize that these cases actually do get tried at times. They don't just all resolve where there's some divorce decree that's signed off by the court. Ultimately, some of these cases have to go all the way to trial because there's just a dispute that the parties can't get along with one another for some reason. Do you see that often, or is it something that's fairly rare?
I would say it's pretty rare. Most of the time, parties can work together to come to an agreement that works for both of them. And when two parties actually figure out something themselves instead of having a judge decide, it makes it easier for that agreement to be followed. But you're right, Josh, there are issues that sometimes just have to go to trial. Most of the time, those are money and children, the two most important things in these proceedings.
So, of course, there are two types of different divorces, fault and no fault. Of course, every divorce, somebody claims the other person's at fault, right? but notwithstanding that, the law looks at it a little differently. Explain a little bit about the fault versus non-fault divorces.
So traditionally, not only in Alabama, but the United States, there had to be a fault-based divorce. Someone had to cheat on him, steal the money, anything. One party had wronged another party. Alabama eventually came to the conclusion that this is not the best way to decide these issues, so they created no fault-based divorces. And you've probably heard these terms: irretrievable breakdown, irreconcilable differences. And you can plead these things to get a divorce, and it kind of makes it easier on both parties, where you're not just at each other's throats all the time, and it makes it easier to get a divorce.
There are many movies that are very popular where
I like you bring movies up. I do like this.
So we can relate, right?
Yeah,
right? So that really deal with family law issues. One of my wife's favorite movies, when this movie comes on, she has to watch it even though she's seen it probably 100 times, and it's Sweet Home Alabama. Reese Witherspoon, Patrick Dempsey are in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Reese Witherspoon, Patrick Dempsey, they get engaged. Come to find out, Reese Witherspoon, a marriage from a long time ago, she's still married because her ex, she thinks, did not sign the divorce papers, so she's got to go back home and get that signed. Is that even possible? I mean, that someone, I guess, didn't sign. If he didn't sign, or if one part of the party did not want the divorce and didn't sign, can the divorce not go forward? Is the movie based on a lie? That's what we really want to know.
I would say that it is possible. It's not probable. Like here in Alabama, like Josh talked about, we have a great bench of judges, and now if there is if something's hanging around for multiple years, our judges are going to set that for a hearing, and we're going to get it taken care of. But yes, if there was a situation where one party just ignored the other party, then unless there was a trial and a judge granted that divorce, then I can't see a scenario where that would happen.
So I guess that's a legal proceeding, and you can't just ignore it. If you get it in the mail and you've got to sign it, you've got to deal with it. You just can't put it in the in the drawer, just leave
well,
it
and
alone.
as I recall from the movie, they had an agreement written down in principle, and he just wasn't willing to sign it right away. Right. He ultimately signed it, and then she tore it up because she wanted to
Don't give the movie away.
Well, that's right. But it's a good movie. It is a good movie. I'll give it to you. Right. Talk for a moment about common law divorce or common law marriages. Do we have that in Alabama? And if so, how is that determined?
So common law marriage in Alabama as of January 1, 2017 is abolished. That means that after January 1, you could no longer claim to be common law married. That does not affect in any way a prior claim of common law marriage that could be done anytime up until January 1st. Common law marriage essentially is a circumstantial way to show a marriage when there is not a ceremonial marriage. When someone does not go down to the courthouse, get the marriage license, have a ceremony, have a reception, all the things that generally would show a marriage are not there in a common law marriage. So what the law does is look at the circumstances surrounding the party's living situation. Have they held themselves out to third parties as being married? This is seen by filing joint tax returns, having joint bank accounts, referring to each other as husband and wife in front of other people. Do they have the capacity? Are they married to someone else at the time they're claiming a common law marriage? What a judge would look at is all these things put together to find a marriage. And what that has the effect of is an actual legal marriage. And that can be, you can determine financial issues, and you can be divorced just as in a regular marriage. So it carries a lot of weight. The debate about why it's been abolished is still going on, but bottom line is you can no longer claim common law marriage starting January 1.
So if you claimed it before, you can probably still get away with it. If you held yourself out before January 1, you'd probably still get away with it. As I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, because we get this question a lot, if I am considered to be common law married because I did those things over the last decade, for example, to hold myself out with my spouse as a husband and wife, you have to go through a formal divorce proceeding in order to dissolve that marriage, do you not?
That is correct.
Does the law change that January 1, do you think?
If you have not made if you were getting married, if you were claiming common law marriage, then the only reason you'd get a divorce is one party thinks that they are entitled to things that a legally married couple would. Most of that is going to be retirement benefits, maybe a property settlement, or one party has much more assets. So
that makes sense. That makes sense. So after January 1, because you can't claim common law marriage anymore, it seems to me a formal divorce proceeding, if you tried to claim it after January 1 for the first time, probably wouldn't have to do it. Beforehand, you might. So this is a tricky area, and you see why Ross was trying to answer the question, and I agree with him. It's a real questionable issue. With this new change in January, it really changes a lot of different things, and I'm not sure all the lawyers know 100% how the courts are going to interpret it, but we'll figure that out as we move forward. One of the things that we see a lot, David, and I know Ross has seen this before, is estate-related issues. For example, if we're handling a personal injury case that's a wrongful death-related injury, and we have a legal spouse who has first priority to be the estate representative that we may represent, if there's a person that the person was, the decedent was common law married to in the past, it can create some major complications about whether the second marriage is a valid marriage, is it not, who has priority to actually open an estate up and file that case if there is a valid wrongful death suit. So we see that a lot, and we use guys like Ross a ton on these issues to help lead, guide, and direct us on making sure that we're advising the client appropriately to make sure the client understands what their rights are when we're trying to open an estate. So these issues roll into criminal matters, they roll into civil matters, they're super important.
Yeah, and another reason why you really need to get some good legal representation. A question we've got here, this is kind of touchy, but a lot of this family law is kind of touchy, emotional stuff. I have a family member who is not properly, this individual does not think they are taking proper care of their child. They're being negligent with the child. Is there anything I can do to get custody?
Yes, and this is one of the most touchy subjects in the law. If there is a parent or custodian who's not properly taking care of their child, and a family member sees this, a lot of times they don't know what to do. Is there any legal action that they can take to help this child? And the answer is yes. Through the family court in Jefferson County, if a child is being abused, has been abandoned, neglected, or is in need of care from someone other than the parent, then another family member can file a dependent petition in the family court. What this does is give custody of that child to the petitioning family member. Now, this is not something that can just be done on a whim. It requires that the parents be notified and they have an opportunity to present their case and fight these actions. But it is a tool that is often used for the benefit of the child.
There are also certain statutes in Alabama that mandate healthcare workers, mandate teachers, and certain sectors of our society have to report if they're aware of abuse. So those individuals also have the ability to get involved to the extent that there's some concern. When we get back, I want to address grandparent rights because we get this question every time, and I want to make sure the grandparents out there know whether they have legal rights or not to spend time with their grandchildren, even if there's a dissolution and a disenfranchising of the relationship between the spouses.
Yeah, all righty. We're going to step aside our final break of the evening. You have a few minutes remaining if you want to join the conversation. We'd love to have you do so. Also, there's attorneys from Hollis Wright standing by live right now to speak with you. Stay tuned. The final segment of the attorneys coming right up.
I'm Tyler Vail with the law firm of Hollis Wright. As with any industry, it's important in the legal world to hire an attorney that is knowledgeable and has a track record of success. But with so many attorneys out there and so many different types of cases, how does someone decide the right lawyer to hire? In this week's Legal 411, we're answering the question, what should I consider in hiring an attorney? In-state versus out-of-state, big firm or little firm, recommendations from friends or family, the internet, the phone book, or TV. With so many choices and so much information, it can be an overwhelming task trying to make the right decision. To complicate things, choosing a lawyer is an important and sometimes life-affecting decision and should not be taken lightly. So how do you select an attorney? Do your research. Look the firm up on the internet. Ask friends and family whether they know or have any experience with a specific firm. If you know any local lawyers, ask them about the reputation of the firms you may be considering. Call a local law office and ask if they are handling cases like yours. There's a good chance they can help you, but if they can't, they can always refer you to someone they respect who handles your type of case. And remember, ask questions face to face. Ask about their experience in handling cases like yours, how often someone from their office will be available to you, and what you can expect during the process. Please remember, your call, email, or text to the attorneys is free. All of us at Hollis Wright want to help answer your questions on real issues you face. Remember, a competent lawyer will respond to every question you send in. That's our pledge and promise to you.
Welcome back into the attorneys. This is our final segment and just a few minutes remaining. So if you want to take advantage of that opportunity to speak with attorneys from Hollis Wright standing by live, you're going to want to do it. There's just a few minutes remaining. Josh?
All right, so when we went to break, I wanted to talk about grandparent rights because this is a question we always get. And I know the law has changed just a bit because of maybe a U.S. Supreme Court case or even an Alabama case. How has it changed and what impact does it have now? Do grandparents have rights and how do they apply for them?
Yes, grandparents do have rights. They have to assert those rights. There are situations in a divorce where one parent gets custody of the children and that leaves the other spouse's parents, the other grandparents, in a situation where they may not have access to the children as much as they did when the couple was together. Grandparents, they can assert their rights, they can intervene in a case, they can just petition for grandparent rights. You have to show a few things. One, that there was a significant and viable relationship with those grandchildren, and not giving the grandparents rights to visit with a visitation with the grandparents would mentally, physically, and emotionally harm the child. The grandparents also have to be fit, and giving the grandparents rights to visit with the grandchildren must be in the best interest of those grandchildren.
Hey, a question we've got here, oftentimes you hear with these shows about child support, a question here about child support. If I had a child with someone that I was not married to, can I still obtain child support?
Yes, you can. There are a few things, and that is a situation that occurs more and more frequently. If you had a child with someone who you're not legally married to, at the hospital they're going to ask if there's a father. Sometimes there is an unknown father, sometimes there is a known father who refuses to sign the birth certificate. If a father has signed the birth certificate, then they are considered the legal father in the state of Alabama. Through the family court, or through the family court or the domestic relations court, you can obtain child support by filing a petition. If there is no one listed on the birth certificate, then you have to initiate a paternity action in which you serve the alleged father, and then a DNA test has to be completed, and depending on the results of that DNA test, you can then obtain child support from the father.
And let's talk just in general about child support. It's scheduled in Alabama through some form of a schedule, and individuals are applied in that schedule based on income. And is that how child support is ultimately determined?
Yes, sir. Child support is very easy in Alabama. It is you plug in numbers into a formula. Some of those numbers are the party's income, if there are any prior child support orders, the health insurance, who pays that for the children, if there are any daycare costs, and very easy, put it in there and it spits out a number for you.
We are just about out of time, right at 2 minutes remaining in the program. We told you a lot of ground to cover here, but want to give both of you an opportunity, just a final thought. And Ross, if you would, just something to leave our viewers with tonight.
Yes, sir. The area of family law is confusing. You can be taken advantage of not only by your spouse, grandparents, other attorneys. So finding someone who is experienced in family law to help you navigate those issues is very important, and something that needs to occur if you are in a situation where a family law issue has arisen.
David, what I'd say is we get as many questions about family law related issues as we do related to civil cases. I mean, we get, family law is obviously a significant issue that impacts the viewing audience that watch this show and watch our monthly events that we do at NBC. If you have an issue, know you have rights. And a lot of people get intimidated to think, I don't have access to a lawyer, I can't afford a lawyer, but I know I've got some rights. There are lawyers there that are out to help you and that can help you for a reasonable amount. It is worth the initial consultation to talk with people, to let somebody explain to you what your rights are and how they can lead, guide, and direct you through the process, and do things like payment plans and other things. So there are lawyers out there that can assist and help you work your way through the divorce system, work your way through custody and child support, to make sure that you're protected, and to make sure that you have the rights that you're entitled to see your children and spend time with family and those types of things. And so, don't delay. If you're involved in this and you're going through a tough time, go find a lawyer, come to us, we'll get you to a guy like Ross. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks so much.
Really appreciate it. Great job.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you as well. We'll see you next time as we wrap things up. Here's how you can continue to get in touch with the firm of Hollis Wright and stay in touch with them. We appreciate the time, and we'll look for you next time on The Attorneys.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.